Good evening, I'm Sarah Sapsanamma. Let's begin with the headlines of the hour. KMG Chair Kailash Siroya presented at Dhanusha District Court again. Amnesty International Secretary General terms his arrest an attempt to intimidate the media and investigative reporting. Victims of cooperatives begin protests in major cities across the country, including the capital, demanding justice. Warn of waging a relay hunger strike until their demands are met. Hundreds fear dead after a massive landslide flattened dozens of homes and buried families alive in a remote village in northern Papua New Guinea. Rescue efforts underway. And Nepal men's national cricket team preparing for the ICC T20 World Cup to play a practice match against Houston Hurricanes today. The match to begin at 8:45 p.m. Nepal time. Dhanusha Police presented Kantipur Media Group Chair Kailash Siroya at the District Court Dhanusha today as well. Siroya was furnished at the District Court for required procedures after recording statements for around 3 hours at the office of the District Government Attorney. He was presented at the bench number 5 of the District Court Dhanusha of Judge Romakant Gyawali. Prior to this, the court had granted a 3-day remand of Siroya to conduct required investigations. Siroya was arrested from his workstation on Tuesday in a vengeful manner. Police had reached Dhanusha on Wednesday morning with Siroya. Amnesty International Secretary General Agnes Callamard has said that Kantipur Media Group Chair Kailash Siroya did not need to be arrested and termed his arrest an attempt to intimidate the media and investigative reporting.
I learned upon my arrival that the publisher of the Kathmandu Post had been arrested, Kailash Siroya.
He's the chairman of KMG Group.
Exactly. Yeah. And that has sent alarms to me and for many of you, no doubt. He is, a respected media person. The charges on citizenship ground need to be investigated, but they should, and we repeat that, and I have repeated it to the officials I have met. Those charges do not require for him to be in custody some 3 days after the fact. He should not have been detained and he should be released immediately. The fact that he has not yet been released, even though we were promised he would very shortly, does suggest that there may have been an attempt to intimidate him and his colleagues, and that it may constitute a form of retaliation for the independent reporting that they are doing. I want to highlight how will I put it? How incredibly unsavory it is on the part of the authority to spend so much energy for one individual who committed a crime that really, if he committed it, is not harming anybody, while at the same time I have met victims after victims who are trying to get serious crimes even being registered by the police, even being investigated. The gap between what they've done for this media mogul versus what they are doing for common people is unbelievable. And that is why I think we need to really keep the pressure on. I know there are journalists in the room. I think this is a red flag. It's a warning to you all, and it cannot be permitted. So you are asking me what we need to do. In the case of Nepal, I think it's important to react with the strongest possible way to this kind of action and to really demonstrate to the authorities that you will not sit idly while your colleagues are being arrested. In the rest of Nepal, in the region, we also know that local journalists are being arbitrarily detained, they are being intimidated, they are not able to do their work. All of this create an atmosphere of fears. It does not encourage proper reporting. impartial, objective, professional reporting, it also has a negative impact on society. Because let's make no mistake, when a journalist is silenced, it is the entire society that suffers. Because your right to information is being denied. Your right to access objective information, investigatory reporting is being violated, and by extension, you too are being silenced. So the other thing that we all need to understand is that press freedom is a value that we should all hold very, very closely. That means, of course, journalists need to be professional. They should not be publishing things that have not been well investigated, and I know that sometimes it does not always happen. But whatever the circumstances, journalists should not be detained for what they are writing. There are other ways of addressing possible lack of professionalism, including through training and other forms of responses that are more self-regulatory than driven by the law. So that, to us, are some of the recommendations that we want to make.
Moving on, meeting of the senior leaders of major parties is underway at the official residence of Prime Minister in Baluwatar to conclude the terms of reference of the Parliamentary Probe Committee. As the task force formed to conclude the terms of reference of the committee could not reach a conclusion, a meeting is being held among the senior leaders, including CPN Maoist Center Chair and Prime Minister Pushpa Kamal Dahal, CPN UML Chair KP Sharma Oli, Vice President of Nepali Congress Purna Bahadur Khadka, General Secretary Gagan Thapa, Leader Krishna Sitola and Chief Whip Ramesh Lekhak. The meeting is also being attended by UML Chief Whip Mahesh Bartola and Maoist Center Chief Whip Hitraz Pandey. Prior to this, discussions were held in the task force formed to conclude on the terms of reference of the Parliamentary Probe Committee to investigate the fraud of cooperatives, to seek a consensus on including the name of Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Home Affairs Ravi Lamichhane in the preamble and specifying the names of the crisis-ridden cooperatives linked to him. However, a consensus remained elusive as Rashtriya Swatantra Party requested for time to discuss the matter with Home Minister and party's chair Lamichhane. At today's meeting of the task force held at Singhadarwar, the ruling party remained firm in its stance that the name of the Home Minister could not be specified before any investigation, after which Nepali Congress made a new proposal. Main opposition Nepali Congress has proposed of including the name of Home Minister in the preamble and specifying the names of the cooperatives he has been linked with. RSP asks for additional time to hold discussions with the Home Minister regarding the proposal. The meeting was postponed for later today as a consensus was not reached on the TOR and jurisdiction of the probe committee. Meeting of the House of Representatives slated for today did not enter the schedule and has been postponed for 11 a.m. on Sunday, 26th of May by Speaker Devraj Khemire. Lawmakers of Nepali Congress protested immediately after today's meeting of the House of Representatives began. They had demanded time to make their statement. Saying the government's policies and programs had to be endorsed, Speaker Khemire requested the main opposition to facilitate the operation of the parliament meeting. As the Speaker kept suggesting the main opposition to create a conducive environment for the lower house meeting to operate, and the main opposition kept demanding time to make its statement, the parliament meeting failed to move forward and was then postponed. Meanwhile, today's meeting of the National Assembly has also been postponed for Sunday because of the obstructions of Nepali Congress. The party has said that it will continue obstructing the parliament meetings until a parliamentary probe committee is formed to investigate the fraud related to cooperatives. Victims of cooperatives have begun protests in major cities across the country, including the capital, demanding for justice. The other cities are Pokhara, Butwal, Chitwan, Nawalparasi, Dharan, among others. They kicked off their protest at exactly 11:11 this morning, demanding the government implement the previous agreement of returning their lost savings. They had warned the government to not let the next election take place until they return their money and have also demanded the government incorporate their issues in the next budget. They have also warned of waging a relay hunger strike until their demands are met. Welcome back. Nepal Samajwadi Party Chair Baburam Bhattarai has said that economic development would not gain pace in the country until political stability is ensured. At an interaction program organized by Baglung Chamber of Commerce and Industries, Bhattarai identified the lack of political stability as the main reason for the failure in achieving national development. He also stressed on directly elected presidential system with a good leadership to ensure national development. Former Senior Divisional Engineer of Department of Printing, Naveen Kumar Pokhral, who was convicted for irregularity related to procurement of security printing center, was found dead at his home in Bhaktapur's Lokanthali. Police found a suicide note addressed to his wife and have begun investigation. Pokhral and former Executive Director Bikal Podal, among others, had been found guilty of corruption in a verdict handed by the Special Court on 21st of May. The Commission for the Investigation of Abuse of Authority, CIA, had filed corruption cases against 9, including the 2. During the procurement, Pokhral was sent to the center by the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology and had been working at the Ministry of Forest and Environment before the case was filed. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion. The question is, what's your take on the absence of science labs in community schools? Your options are A, government negligence, B, apathy towards science, and C, lack of infrastructure. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. Time now for international update. Hundreds are feared dead after a massive landslide flattened dozens of homes and buried families alive in a remote village in northern Papua New Guinea earlier this morning. The landslide occurred in the village of Kawakalam in Enga province, which is about 600 kilometers north of the capital Port Moresby, at 3 a.m. when most residents were sleeping. More than 50 homes, many with people still asleep inside, were buried when the landslide occurred. According to local media, the rescue operation is underway. Prime Minister James Marape issued a statement expressing his condolences to the deceased and said that he has directed the necessary agencies to provide immediate assistance in the disaster. Local media have estimated that more than 100 people died in the landslide and also said that the number of deaths may increase. The video of the landslide is going viral on social media. In the video, locals are seen helping people trapped under buried houses or rubble and trying to pull them out. A boiler blast in India's Maharashtra at a chemical factory on Thursday killed at least 8 people while injuring dozens others. Rescue personnel from the National Disaster Response Force were seen searching for bodies underneath debris of burnt buildings, many still smoldering after the blast in Dombivli city on Friday. 3 bodies were found this morning while 5 were recovered yesterday, local media reported. The reason for the blast is yet to be confirmed. Industrial accidents are common in India and are often blamed on people flouting safety norms as well as lax inspection by government officials. At least 14 people were killed and 3 injured in a fire that broke out at a densely populated residential area in Hanoi earlier this morning. Vietnam news agency said that the fire started at 12:30 a.m. local time and was accompanied by several explosions. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Public Security issued a statement saying that the firefighters managed to rescue 7 people from the fire at a 5-story building in a small alley in Vietnam's capital city. The ministry said it is investigating the cause of the fire, whose victims are yet to be identified. In September last year, a fire at an apartment block in Hanoi killed at least 56 people, among them children, and injured 37. Now, the General Staff of Iran's armed forces released the first report on the causes of a recent helicopter crash that resulted in the deaths of Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi and his entourage. Following the crash, a senior investigation committee composed of experts, specialists and technicians arrived at the scene on Monday morning. The semi-official Tasnim news agency quoted the report by the General Staff of Iran's armed forces as saying, according to the report, the helicopter had remained on its predetermined course all along the way and had not deviated from the flight route. Almost 1.5 minutes before the incident, the pilot of the crashed helicopter had contacted the other 2 helicopters of the president's convoy. No trace of bullets or similar items have been detected on the wreckage of the crashed helicopter, it said. After crashing into the mountain, the helicopter had caught fire. Raisi and his entourage were en route to East Azerbaijan province when the helicopter carrying them crashed in a mountainous area on Sunday. Nepal men's national cricket team are preparing for the ICC 2020 World Cup and are to play a practice match against Houston Hurricanes today. The match, which will be played at the Prairie View Cricket Complex, will begin at 9:15 p.m. Nepal time. Nepal star all-rounder Dipender Singh Airi will miss today's match because of an injury. The Rhinos are set to play their practice matches today and tomorrow against Houston Hurricane ahead of the T20 World Cup.
Especially bowling को कुरा हेर्दाखेरि जहाँ चाहिँ हामी क्लिक गरिरहेका छौँ त्यो एरियाजहरू वर्क गर्ने एकदम जरुरी छ जस्तो लाग्छ एज अ ब्याटिङ युनिट पनि यो कन्डिसनको युज टु हुन्छ जस्तो लाग्छ र स्टेन ह्युरिकेन्सको टिम पनि राम्रो छ सो एकदम राम्रो प्रिपरेसन हुन्छ फर वर्ल्ड कप.
The Nepal team have been in the US for the past 2 weeks. The team first practiced in Florida and then played 3 practice matches in West Indies, in which Nepal won 2 matches.
एकदम राम्रो सिचुएट नेसन्सको लागि स्पेशली मोटिभेसन त सबैको लागि किनभने युएसएले अब चाहिँ बाङ्ग्लादेश हराइरहेछ भने सबै टिम केपेबल छन् जस्तो लाग्छ होइन र मोटिभेसन छ बट ह्याभिङ सेड द्याट आई थिङ्क बेटर क्रिकेट खेल्नुपर्छ त्यो दिन जति पनि एरिया छ आई थिङ्क एज अ टिम हामीले सबै एरियाज कभर गरे भने आई थिङ्क हामी कुनै पनि टिमलाई बिट गर्छौँ जस्तो लाग्छ होइन मलाई.
All the matches will be very difficult for all the teams. You know, there is no easy game in World Cup. World Cup, it's all about pressure, holding your nerve and live up on a craft moment. So all the matches in especially in T20 World Cup, we saw it in last 2-3 World Cup that every game is very important and no one can team any.
That is all for the moment. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.